everybody, welcome back to Wild Horizons. My name is Barrett, and in today's video we're going to be setting up my Tortoise's Enclosure, Ranger, and we're going to see and learn all about how to set up a proper in-house enclosure for a tortoise. Alright everybody, well, I appreciate you tuning back into this one. Again, if you're new, make sure you drop a like down below. Consider subscribing. It definitely helps out the channel. I greatly appreciate it. But again, in the title of today's video and the intro, if you haven't already found out, we're going to learn how to set up the proper enclosure for a tortoise, in this case a Red Foot Tortoise, in-house. So we keep him in our house for about half the year when it's cold and winter months. And then in the summertime, we're also going to have another video that we break down about how to do an outdoor enclosure. Because it's important to give tortoises a lot of space to roam, because they need it. But in today's video, we're going to learn about proper care, proper setup, and what's needed for an enclosure to be put into your house. So let's dive right into that. Alright, so first things first, we're going to talk about this enclosure. We actually got this enclosure off of Temu, and it was super inexpensive. Y'all will see right now there's an automatic fogger in there, and that's what this is. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But this is our Red Foot Tortoise. We got him as a rescue about 4 or 5 months ago now. So he's doing great. He had some shell rot. We've been treating that. But I already got a lot of the stuff out of the enclosure that was already in there. We're going to go ahead and break down everything that was in it before. We're going to be putting it all back into it. I'm going to go over plants and all other kinds of stuff too. So make sure that you stay tuned. But what we're going to do first is get him out of the enclosure. We'll talk a little bit about what's in the enclosure. And then we'll dive into putting everything back into the enclosure. So let's get right into getting him out. Alright, so I'm going to cut back here. So it's important to give these guys baths. So he gets a bath at least once every other day. We try and do it every day. But he enjoys his baths. He'll sit there, he'll soak, enjoy all that water. But it does good things for him. So it helps hydrate them, keep their shell moist. Super important though, after you give these guys a bath, you gotta dry them off completely because it can lead to shell rot. But let's go ahead and dive into what was in the enclosure and then what's gonna go back into it. Alright, so getting into some of the stuff that was in the enclosure, y'all will see a lot of clay here. So we use a bunch of different stuff here. This is actually a hide that we turn on its side. That's a little hide that he actually goes under sometimes. Y'all see a lot of plants here. So we use a lot of live plants, and there's some plants already in the enclosure now. We use a couple different places really to find like what plants are best to use for tortoises. We use a resource called Tortoise Table. I'm going to leave a link down in the description. If you guys are interested and want to learn more about like what kind of plants and what stuff is safe for tortoises to use, I definitely recommend using that. But there's all different kinds of stuff. So I'll link some of the names here up on the screen of the types of plants that we have that are going to be going back into the enclosure. But before I talk too much about what all this is, and really it's just stuff that goes into the enclosure, that's a little clay disc that's used for water. He soaks on that a lot. And then these are some of the feeding platforms we use. But we're going to get into this. So this is an automatic mister. So it's set on a humidity level. And if it hits a certain humidity level, and it's under that humidity level, it will automatically pump a lot of this fog into the enclosure. So y'all will see here, it's kind of like a greenhouse. So we zip this thing up. This thing folds down right here. And it helps hold the humidity in really well. So these tortoises, Redfoots in general, cherry heads, same difference, need a really high humid environment. So y'all will see some of the substrate here. We use clay, we use play sand. And then we use a couple different mixtures into this substrate. I'll leave the link for what they are in the description. Or actually, I'll just pop up right here. But this holds humidity really well. So it does a really good job at holding humidity in the substrate. So this does a really good job of holding humidity. The humidity then, again, holds in the substrate. And it's just an all-around perfect balance. So it was kind of difficult to get a lot of this stuff on the side to like hold humidity well. Because this is just like a metal tray that goes all the way around. So we had to use like duct tape and a bunch of other tape to actually hold it up, or it would start like sagging down. But this is just like a pool net. So all the way around the base is like a basically like a pool kind of thing. like a tarp, like a big thick tarp that holds the water in the base so it doesn't obviously seep out through the base of this. But yeah, I'm going to leave a link for this whole actual setup in the description if you're interested to get this yourself. It's super great. I think it's like a 3x4x3. So it's a pretty big space for him to roam around. He's not that big of a tortoise yet. He's silly, so. But yeah, so I'm going to leave the plant name for this up on the screen. This one's really good to have in there. It's like an aloe, I believe. This I will also leave now on the screen. And then this little guy is a very similar one to that. And then this is definitely an aloe. I know that for a fact. So yeah, let's go ahead and put all of, and this is a fake plant, but let's go ahead and put all of this back into here. Alright, so another reason why we let him soak, y'all saw a little time lapse, he took a giant dookie. So we're going to get him cleaned off and back into his newly set up enclosure. Alright, so we just rinsed him off, got him out of his nasty water, and Kylie is just wiping his shell off, or her shell off. We don't know if it's a boy or girl yet. But again, like I mentioned earlier, having a wet shell can lead to them having shell rot. So you want to make sure they're about as dry as you can get them. Obviously, you're not going to get them 100% dry. But that's what Kylie's doing now, and he looks all good. Let's get him back into the enclosure. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and give him some greens. These are collard greens, lettuce, some strawberries, and some other miscellaneous stuff. But we meal prep for him, so go ahead and dump that out on his little bowl he has there. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, throw that to the side, what all of this is and why it's placed in a certain orientation that it is. So we got like a little terracotta pot. The terracotta actually holds humidity really well. So he's trying to dig back behind that. I rearranged some of the stuff, so. But anyways, like I was saying, the terracotta holds humidity really well, and that's why we use that. Need to fill his water dish up, but we got obviously a lot of plants we already talked about in this. This is a little basking area, so this light actually comes on at certain points. So there's a temperature gauge right there in the back that we have. So it's right now, obviously this has been open for quite a few minutes, but it's just over 80 degrees at that spot, which is just below his basking bulb. So we have a UVB bar. Again, that comes on and goes off on a timer. Same with the humidity, same with the fogger. Everything is set to be on like a little schedule. He is gonna keep trying to dig back there. But another thing I did want to mention about this enclosure, so it's hard to tell on camera, but it's not even, so it's not completely flat. This is good enrichment for them, so it allows them to like contour to the base and gives them some movement, because it's always good to have, you know, different obstacles and different things for them to move around like he's doing now. I rearranged his enclosure, that way he gets enrichment. So again, y'all saw the fogger come on because it's not holding humidity well right now because the whole side is open. But same thing with the rocks. He crawls all over them, she crawls all over them. That's a little feeding dish, and very rarely does he actually go in the hide, but it's there for him if he wants it. Usually he'll actually like sit back there in that little corner, dig down a little bit, but it's good to, once you even have this in, go in every now and then, take everything out like we did, and kind of mix that substrate up. It just does a good job at holding that humidity really well. You don't want it to really pack down too much. You want to leave it kind of fluffy. So we'll go in, fluff it up, and then rearrange things, because again, it's good for them to have obstacles and good for them to have enrichment in their enclosure and be able to move around and learn new spots within that enclosure itself. As you see, Ranger is now exploring because he or she, whatever she is or he is exploring because everything is kind of in a new orientation. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get into this outro. Obviously, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, how to care for these guys, what they need to eat, I'm not going into too much detail on that, but I can in a future video if you want me to. But if you're new, make sure you drop a like down below, consider subscribing, drop a comment too if you have any questions. So I know this was kind of a broad topic, just going over what's going in the enclosure, but it's an important one. It's pretty cool. This whole setup and enclosure wasn't that much to create. It's a lot more if you're doing some huge custom built setup. This was pretty cheap, pretty easy to set up. It all just bolts together and screws into itself. Other than that, the backdrop and tape was kind of difficult just to make sure it actually holds to the back and doesn't get a bunch of humidity behind it. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into this outro. Alright everybody, well I appreciate you sticking through this one. Again, if you're new, make sure you drop a like down below, consider subscribing. It definitely helps out the channel. I hope you learned something new and I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, make sure you stay tuned. We upload every Tuesday and every Friday. I appreciate you sticking through this one. I hope to see you in the next. Peace.